Welcome to Pep Talk, everybody, where we dive into performance enhancing physiology, where we give you common sense solutions to common problems that are out there. And we help put health and care back into healthcare and give you, the people, the ability to take the responsibility back for the health and well being of you and your own family. Guys, I'm your host, Dr. Eric Nepute. I'm going to be helping you along this journey to help you get your health and your life back. Today's topic, we're going to do a 30-minute dive, our half hour to health segment. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about your gut, about gut health. I want to talk a little bit about this before we dive deep. When as a physician, when I first learned about gut health, I thought we were just talking about, bloatiness, constipation, diarrhea, upset stomach, heartburn, reflux, those common symptoms that people get. I did not realize until really after I graduated and became a doctor how powerful and important the gut is. Even Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, first heal the gut and everything else falls into place. And did you know that our gut is more than just our stomach? It's our entire digestive system made up of different organs. I mean, the stomach is involved, the liver is involved, the pancreas is involved, obviously the small and large intestine are involved. But I really want to focus big time today on the small intestine and something in our body called our microbiome, or something called the microbiota. Now, did you know that you actually have more bacteria in and on your body than you do human cells in and on your body? I mean, think about that for a minute. By the way, big shocker for those of you that are germaphobes. Sorry to break it to you. You got stuff all over. You got bugs and microbes everywhere, and we're supposed to live symbiotically with them. Our microbiome, our ohm, is a system. Anything that's an ohm is a system inside the body. The mechanome, the microbiome, the virome, those are all ohms, systems within our body, the little ecosystems that exist to keep us healthy. And did you know that the quality of the health of an individual is based off the quality of the health of their cells and their genetic expression? Well, did you know that your bacteria in and on your body is one of the top signaling compounds and chemicals to the cells and to the genes in the body? So if you don't have a healthy microbiome, you can't be a healthy individual. And so most people don't know that our microbiome actually starts, we get our first dose of good, healthy bacteria during birth. When a baby comes down the birth canal, when it's going down and it's moving, twisting around and coming out of the vaginal canal, the human body is getting exposed. The skin is getting exposed to the bacteria. And then we're actually, it's getting in our body. We're ingesting it as well. And so those of us who maybe were born cesarean section or had some other complication where we weren't a vaginal birth, we might not have ever had the initial dose of our healthy bacteria during birth, which could set off a whole cascade of problems. Many of you understand the power of having a healthy GI tract. Because many of you who I've talked to over the decades of this, and many of you that are watching, we have a lot of other doctors and influencers that watch this pep talk to get information to share with their listeners and their patients on how to help themselves. I get reports all the time. I mean, look, I have a list right now of testimonials from other doctors that said, I had no idea that helping the gut microbiome would help my practice. This guy, by the way, is an allergist. He deals with allergies. By helping the microbiome has helped my patients deal with food allergies and environmental sensitivities. Here's another good friend of mine she's a plastic surgeon by trade, but she does a lot of work with cosmetics and skincare. She says, Doctor, you had no idea that my patients' health and their skin would improve so much by getting their microbiome to balance out. Here's another friend of mine who happens to be a chiropractor who specializes in a condition called chronic regional pain, which is a serious pain issue with horrible inflammation and horrible neurological issues. He says, Dr. E, I now believe, after looking at the work that you've presented to me, that making sure that the microbiome is balanced is one of the most important aspects in reducing global inflammation in my patients. So I'm not trying to impress you, but to impress upon you that this whole thing about gut health is way more important than you could even imagine. Now, before we talk about what causes the gut to get bad, let's talk about what causes the gut to be healthy. So first of all, how do we eat for a good, healthy lifestyle and a good, healthy gut? Well, number one, we have to eat clean, organic, non-processed foods. I need you to understand that your intestinal layer in your small intestine is only one cell layer thick, only one cell layer thick, which means if you have something that's going to cause those cells that are supposed to be tight junction together to start to separate, then that's going to be a problem because there's only one cell layer of thickness. And so eating fiber, a fiber-rich diet, which research tells us that 95% of people who eat a standard American diet, so all of us in North America and other Western eating lifestyle cultures, 95% of those individuals are going to be predisposed to leaky gut syndrome, which I'm going to tell you in a minute, all the symptoms that can happen from that. So that's like almost everybody. Number two, anyone who, so if you're not eating enough fiber, that's a problem. We got to eat more fiber, healthy fiber, fruits and vegetables, and mostly vegetables. And I like low oxalate vegetables to help heal the gut. Staying away from heavy roughages, certain types of foods can really agitate the GI tract big time. So good healthy fibers, number one. Number two, look at your fluids. Make sure you're getting good, clean water, filtered water, and water that has the chlorine and the fluoride removed. Folks, fluoride and chlorine are going to cause your cells to separate, leading to leaky gut syndrome, which I'll talk about more in just a minute. That's a problem. So if you're drinking out of the garden hose like most of us did when we grew up as kids, and there's fluoride or chlorine in your water, that's a problem. If you're also not getting the right kind of water that has electrolytes in it, which things like spring water, that's what we should be drinking, or filtered water that has electrolytes added to it, or hydrogen infused water, those are the things that we should be doing on a daily basis. And how much should we be drinking? Kind of a rule of thumb is half your weight, take your body weight, divide it by 2, and that's how many ounces of water that you should have every day. I like adding to my water throughout the course of a day between 5, maybe up to 10 grams of good, healthy salt. And I don't mean table salt, not the sodium chloride stuff, not the iodinized salt. I'm talking about good, healthy, organic sea salt. I like Baja Gold. I like Celtic sea salt. I like certain types of Himalayan salt, but you have to make sure that it's clean, it's organic, it doesn't have a lot of waste in it. So those are things that you can do to help yourself. Eating a plethora of foods. By the way, eating grass-fed meats are a great way to help improve leaky gut. I can't tell you, adding more protein to your system is always a benefit. Look, once we get over the age of 30, our body stops absorbing and producing the enzymes necessary to break down and digest proteins. Well, proteins are the essential nutrient needed for the body. Protein is the healing chemical. Protein is the healing nutrient. So the more protein you eat within reason, and I highly doubt many of you are going to eat too much protein in your system. I highly doubt it because you're not processing it. Protein with an enzyme is an amazing thing to do. You guys know I always tell folks, whatever your ideal body weight is, let's say you're 200 pounds, but your ideal body weight is 160 or 170, you need to have 160, 170 grams of protein every day. So those are things that eating well, drinking, hydrating properly, getting the right amount of salt in your diet, and then supplementing. Look, listen, every man, woman, and child should take some type of good, healthy microbiotic formula. Most probiotics that are on the marketplace don't work. They're not living bacteria. They don't help your body. And most of them can actually cause more harm than good, because if you put something in your system that the body doesn't recognize as a benefit, it's going to recognize as a problem. And what will happen at that point is the body will mount an autoimmune response and an inflammatory response to it. And if you're chronically taking something consistently that is going to cause more harm than good, then you're going to be put in a state of inflammation. And it can lead to, in the gut, something called leukocytosis of the gut, GI leukocytosis, which is an increase of white blood cells in the digestive region, which can lead to autoimmune problems. So make sure that you're taking good, healthy probiotic. And I like something called master microbes, master microbiotics. These are either soil-based organisms or spore-based organisms, as opposed to the cultural, basic, cultured probiotics that people get that this really don't do any good for folks. And then how's the gut supposed to work? How does the body work? Well, when we eat food, Food goes, we chew it up. And by the way, we're supposed to chew up our food a good 20 plus times before we swallow it. Most people chew it 3 times and swallow it down. We have this mechanical digestion, the chewing of the food, that is essentially important. It helps your body break down those foods. And there's also in your saliva, there's enzymes and other bacteria that's in there that helps the body break those foods down as well. So take your time, chew your food a good 20 times to 30 times before you swallow it down. Swallow down your food. It goes through the swallowing tube into the digestive system, into the stomach. That's where the stomach, all the acids start making enzymes, and hydrochloric acid production is there. That helps break down some of the foods a little further, soften things up. And then ultimately it goes into the intestinal tract. The small intestine is the key. The small intestine is where the bacteria is in there, breaking down the food that we eat, because the bacteria that we have, our good, healthy gut microbiome, is responsible for breaking down, helping further digest, and turning certain chemicals from our food into nutrients that we can absorb. If you don't have the right bacteria, your body cannot absorb the nutrients properly. That's why this is so important. This is so simple, but so profound what I'm telling you. I don't care where you're at in your health journey. These are the basic fundamentals of things that you should be doing on a daily basis to help improve your health and the health of your family. And if you're a physician or a healthcare expert, you should be making these exact same recommendations for the people that are trusting you to help them with their problems. So once it's in the small intestine, now that food breaks down, and then ultimately what happens, it gets absorbed through these little channels and chambers from the small intestine into the bloodstream. There's literally only one cell layer of thickness between the small intestine and the bloodstream, and those nutrients get in the bloodstream. But what happens is, if we have leaky gut issues, for the reasons I'm going to tell you in just a moment, the cells that are supposed to be tight junctioned together separate a little bit. Now that intestinal tract becomes permeable. Well, when you eat food, ladies and gentlemen, there's a waste product, a toxin that's inside of that food. And our body's byproduct of digestion is very acidic and very toxic. There's actually enough toxins in your intestinal tract to kill hundreds of people. That's why if you have an appendix rupture or you have an injury with your intestinal tract, you have to have surgery immediately, or else you'll turn septic and die. You'll get an infection in your blood and your organs will shut down. So when those tight junctions separate because of eating the standard American diet, having too many antibiotics in your system, and by the way, one dose of antibiotics can disrupt the normal bacteria in the GI tract for up to 12 to 14 months, some research shows. Or maybe you say, I don't take antibiotics and I eat clean, but in some of the meat you eat or the water you drink, there could be antibiotics inside that water. The third thing is stress. If you're stressed out, if you have physical, chemical, or emotional stress, you're going to be more predisposed to have an increase in cortisol levels in your body. That cortisol is going to turn your gut into Swiss cheese, poke little holes in it, and it's going to allow those toxins to get into the bloodstream. Now those toxins leak into the blood, and now those toxins, which aren't supposed to be there, are in the bloodstream and ultimately get to the cells and get to the organs. Well, now your body has a chronic inflammatory response because of that. A chronic inflammatory response turns into an autoimmune type of a process. And so we find a massive correlation between autoimmune and chronic inflammatory diseases and leaky gut syndrome. All because of the 3 reasons I told you, because of the standard American diet, because of drinking waters with antibiotics or having antibiotic in your system somehow. And number 3, being under stress. So now those toxins leak into the bloodstream, and now we get just little micro doses of sepsis in our body, which can really lead to some serious problems. It's what accelerates the aging process. It's what accelerates the shortening of your telomeres in your chromosomes. It's what accelerates the cellular death of the cell wall in your body. It's what shuts down your cell's ability to produce ATP. And if it turns that down, then we don't produce energy. And that happens almost immediately. And so when we have that leaky gut syndrome, not only do we get leaky gut, but we get a leaky brain. Why do we get a leaky brain? Because some 90% of the neurotransmitters are the chemicals that are produced in the small intestine that travel up into the brain that help us feel happy, motivated, inspired, that keep us out of anxiety, depression, insomnia, that help us, our self-worth feel good, that euphoric feeling that you get. Like that's from having good neurotransmitters. So when you get leaky gut, you get a leaky brain. And now you get more increases of anxiety, depression, insomnia. You get loss of motivation. You get loss of focus, loss of function. I mean, how many of you relate to that? What if the root cause of that was your GI tract? Doing a simple spit test or a stool sample or even a blood test to measure something called zonulin can tell you if you have some of those problems. And then because it's also been said, and science and research has proven, that 90% of your immune system lives in your small intestine. Well, when you have chronic immune weakness, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you're more susceptible to any kind of infection, whether it's pandemic season or not, flus, colds, viruses, bacterial infections, fungal overgrowth. If your immune system doesn't work, it can't kill off parasites. If your immune system doesn't work, it can't get rid of the toxins in your body. And you hold on to these things and you become chronically ill because of that. So your immune system compromises. And folks, any doctor will tell you that the vast majority of diseases, end-stage diseases, even cancers, are contributed to immune system dysregulation. And if your immune system modulation is off, your immune system doesn't know how to turn on, turn off, doesn't know what to do. And literally, it could be coming from the leaky gut, which is why in most functional medicine doctors' offices, they focus on, within the first 3 steps of helping someone, what's the gut bacteria look like? Now, let me give you a really cool, simple little test you can do at home to help yourself to see if you have this condition called leaky gut. It's very simple, very inexpensive. This is not a diagnostic test. This is not like diagnosing a disease. We're not interested in that. I don't care about diseases. I care about the cellular imbalances in the physiology that lead to those diseases. I don't want to manage a disease. I want to go to the root cause on a cellular level of why something manifests in the first place. I mean, isn't that just commonsensical? Of course it is. You can do this too. So here's the deal. First thing in the morning when you wake up, before you brush your teeth, eat anything, drink anything, I want you to go get a glass of water. It has to be a clear glass. I want you to fill it up all the way to the top, and I want you to spit in it. And remember, I don't need a big goober. I just need saliva. And spit in that and let it sit. And a healthy saliva, come back 15 minutes later, healthy saliva should sit at the top. If it streaks or if it drops to the bottom, that's a sign that you've got abnormal bacteria in the body, because the GI tract feeds the bacteria of the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the ears, the rectum, the vaginal canal, all the mucous membranes, all the protective layers, including the ears, which if the ears don't have the right bacteria from the gut, you get ear infections. If the sinuses don't have right bacteria, you get sinus infections and mold infections. If the eyes have a problem, you get vision issues, you get trouble seeing at nighttime, you get a higher increase in allergy type symptoms. You get increase if this is a problem from a rectal standpoint, you get rectal itching, you get all kinds of, even hemorrhoids and other problems that can happen. If it's a vaginal issue, you get all kinds of issues like vaginosis and recurrent UTIs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So understanding that leaky gut deal is a huge piece of this puzzle. So what are things that can be done to help with it? Let's talk about that. How do we seal up those tight junctions? That's a really important thing to know, is how do you seal up those tight junctions when your body's under stress, when you have the glyphosate and processed food in your diet, when you're eating a lot of gluten. Gluten can cause this as well. When you're drinking water that has fluoride and chlorine in it, and just when you're stressed out, what can you do? Well, number one, you need to identify what's really the root cause. So measuring your physical, chemical, and neuroemotional stress is a powerful thing. Hopefully you have access to healthcare providers or online tools that you can use that we promote, and we recommend a lot of them as well. And you can find more of those on our website, Pep Talk. You just click the link and you can see those. But what should you do? So here's some basic things. Number one, we always talk about moving well. Well, did you know that moving your body can truly increase and help the bacterial function and improve the pH of your GI tract? Literally a 20-minute walk after you eat meals has been clinically proven to lower your blood sugar levels. Increase in blood sugar levels causes an increase in the separation of those tissues. The sugars are little holes that poke holes in your GI tract. So lowering your sugars. Lowering your sugars from exercise can be a huge thing. Doing some deep breathing exercises to lower your stress. There's a technique, you can go on YouTube and look it up. It's called box breathing exercises. Box breathing exercise. And there's all kinds of exercises, deep breathing exercises. You guys know you can go look up Wim Hof's breathing exercises. I'm a huge fan of what Wim has done and what he does to this day from a breathing standpoint. You can do all kinds of different types of diaphragmatic breathing that'll help as well. What else can you do for yourself? Well, proper hydration. We talk about what I call is drinking living water. So remember this and write this down. Drink living water every day. So you want to have water, ideally, that doesn't come in a plastic case or cartridge or something like that. You want to have something that comes in, ideally, glass, because plastics unfortunately get into the water, and science and research has shown that some 80% of people out there that are currently getting blood tests are showing plastic particles, microplastics in their system. That's a problem. It's going to cause leaky gut and autoimmune issues. So get something that's going to pull those chemicals out of your system. So with the living water, drink clean water with no fluoride and chlorine. Ideally, it's infused with minerals. If it's not infused with minerals, take a big pinch of good, healthy, organic sea salt, either pink Himalayan sea salt, Baja Gold sea salt. Pink Himalayan is good. Celtic sea, all those. There's lots of ones that are out there that are good that you could use. Put that in your water throughout the day. Use a squeeze of lemon or a squeeze of key lime in there. That's really powerful. That makes that water living. But what I like to add also to that water are binders. I love to add things like carbon 60. Shilajit is a really good compound. Fulvic and humic acid. Fulvic and humic acid are amazing what they do to help make that water more alkaline. I also love activated charcoal in the water. There are many products that we recommend and we use and we formulated that we add. There's a special formula I add to my water every day, and that really helps. But then, man, it's all about your diet and getting those foods out that we talked about. So getting things like breads, pastas, grains, oats, rice and barley out of your system. Minimizing alcohol. Alcohol is a poison, man. And especially sugar-based alcohol, which is almost every alcohol that's out there. That's going to poke holes in your intestinal tract. All things in moderation, even moderation. We found that some people do really well with a keto type diet or a carnivore type diet. And we've also found that some people do really well with a plant-based type diet. Everybody's body's uniquely, independently different. It just depends on your need. That's why we recommend these genetic profiles and even blood tests to find out what you need. And a genetic SNP test, which is a buccal swab test that you can do, it'll tell you what's the best foods and best protocols for you based off of your lifestyle. I'm a huge fan of adding good fat. So there's something in the body that we can add that helps, like spackle, heal those tight junctions. And they're called short chain or medium chain fatty acids. Something called ghee butter. You heard of ghee butter? It's grass-fed butter. Ghee butter is an amazing way to get those holes filled up. I'm also a huge fan of the right kind of fiber. I already told you that 95% of the people out there don't get enough fiber. That fiber is the prebiotic. It's the fertilizer. It's the food, if you will, that the probiotics, the good bacteria, eat. So having good, healthy, vegetable-based and some fruit-based fiber, apples, acai gum, healthy fibers from leafy green and dark green vegetables, peppers, those are so good for the body. Having a probiotic, but the right kind of probiotic, not just a culture-based probiotic that doesn't work, but having a spore-based probiotic or a soil-based master microbe, that is what you need. The pre and the probiotic mixed together to make that postbiotic. And that's what really heals and seals those tight junctions. It can be done. It typically takes about 6 weeks to really start the process and 90 days to really make a long-term change in the healing and sealing of that intestinal tract. So I would highly encourage you to do those things. And just know that you can make a huge difference in your overall health and well-being, but you got to do it within 90-day sections. Everybody can commit to something for 6 weeks. And then once you see that benefit for 6 weeks, now you can commit to 90 days. And every 90 days, your body's going to just continue to improve. But you got to mitigate your exposure to the physical, chemical, and emotional stresses that we talked about at the beginning of this talk about gut health. But look, I'm going to tell you, gut health, in my professional opinion, is the root cause of most autoimmune issues. It's the root cause of most inflammatory issues. We know for a fact that it's a major cause and contributor to obesity. There's a Dr. Jeff Gordon did studies on fecal transplants, and they found that if you take fecal transplants from a overweight organism and put it into a healthy organism, that organism gets unhealthy and overweight. and vice versa. They literally took fecal samples and good bacteria out of thin people and thin rats and put them into, overweight, obese, and blood sugar ridden rats. And they shifted that. And now we have this technology called fecal transplant treatments. But you don't need that if you have those master microbes, change your lifestyle, and apply the things that we talked about. So that's a big piece of the puzzle. Well, some of the other big things that are important to understand is that blood sugar imbalances. If you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, you better make sure that you have the gut bacteria balanced in your body like it's supposed to. The fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and K, it is essential that you have a good, healthy microbiome in order for those to work like they're supposed to. If you don't have the good bacteria balance in your gut, you have a higher likelihood of developing skin irritations, pimples, and outbreaks, and even certain types of changes in discoloration in the skin are actually fungal initiated and not just freckles. Many of you may have that. I mean, everything from sore, stiff joints, headaches, migraines, fatigue, anxiety, depression, insomnia, any type of joint pain, rheumatism, digestive issues, bloatiness, gas, distension, upset stomach, diarrhea, ADD, ADHD, all of those things. If you don't go after the root, which in most people's cases is the gut, you're never going to fix your problem. So folks, I would just encourage you to understand that you are in control of your health, and little bitty changes can make huge impacts in your well-being and the well-being of your children and your family over a period of time. I mean, it's a simple equation. All you have to do is understand is that consistency over time equals a result. If you consistently do the right thing for long enough time, you're going to get a positive result. If you consistently do the wrong thing for long enough time, you're going to get a negative result. So look at your lifestyle habits and patterns, and don't rely just on another person to tell you what to do, or another magic pill or potion, lotion, or whatever, or even a drug for that matter. Put into play the things that I'm teaching you today and give your body the grace and time it needs to heal. So folks, that's all I've got for you today on this edition of Pep Talk. I want to encourage you to make sure that you like and share and subscribe to all of our channels. Share this video with your friends and family and loved ones, because I promise you, you have questions, you have things that you all need to learn and need to know and need to do, folks. And all I got to say is, until we meet again, happy and healthy and wealthy are you. I'm Dr. Eric Nepute. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the world.